In my Universe Mode Championship history video, I talked about a potential Remember It Happened thing for like Behind the Universe, and I ended up cutting out like a 6-minute tangent that I went on when I was talking about the World Heavyweight Championship. So this is kind of like, I guess, a teaser of what that Remember It Happened idea would be. I don't think I'm actually going to stick with that name, just because I feel like it would be easier just to make these things on like a case-by-case basis and just title them as such rather than trying to throw them into like an overarching series, because I feel like I've got enough of that already on the channel. So anyways, this is what I came up with. Enjoy. I will also say that the contrast that I was able to make between both of Dolph Ziggler's world title reigns, because that was, if you look at the superstars who have been multi-time champions, ever since I made the switch where I was then controlling the product, like actively booking mostly everything and then eventually everything. Really, the only two guys that I have booked to be multi-time champions, like of a single title, are Dolph Ziggler and CM Punk. And CM Punk's second title victory came way back at WrestleMania in 2K15, so even then, that wasn't necessarily entirely in my control. Whereas Dolph Ziggler, he was the most recent example of a guy winning a second championship, but unlike with Sheamus or Jack Swagger, where they're multiple or even John Cena, where multiple title reigns don't mean jack. Between Dolph Ziggler's 2 title reigns, there's a very clear shift in his character and a very clear shift in dynamic between him and his challengers, whereas before, Dolph Ziggler was the man making a name for himself. He was the up-and-comer. So he's going up against the likes of Christian and Edge until eventually he gets his neck injury and Ryback takes him out. Then, when Ziggler returns, he is no longer in the up-and-coming role, because now he is a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. So now, instead of Ziggler being the one who is trying to hold his ground, or rather, trying to, like, establish himself as a main eventer and trying to hold off pre-established veterans, when Ziggler wins the title the second time at Fastlane, he is now in that veteran position where he is trying to hold his ground, trying to keep his spot at the top of the card alive, and trying to suppress other up-and-coming superstars. Guys like Rusev, guys like Cesaro. And that's what I feel like a second world title reign should be. There should be a very clear distinction, not just in terms of, oh, what was like the time range that he held the title and what opponents did he face, but it should be a very clear shift, maybe not necessarily in someone's character, but the dynamics of the title reign should shift. Because, for example, if you look at Sheamus's 3 world title reigns, other than the amount of days that he held it, what exactly is the difference? What sort of character development happened over the course of those title reigns? Nothing really. Did anything about Sheamus's character shift at all? No, he was just the world champion defending the title. There's no real character progression, no development, nothing really changes. It's just that Sheamus lost the title and would win it back, and that was it. And it's not even a situation where, like, you can do back and forth title changes. You can do that well, because that would be a good way to show that these guys are truly on equal footing. And it could just be a matter of who is in better shape on that exact night. Or, like, I know I was watching some videos about New Japan, because I haven't watched New Japan personally, but I found 2 channels, which I'll leave their names on the screen and links in the description, because they make really cool video essays about New Japan. But from what I've gathered, a good example is like the feud between Tetsuya Naito and Hiroshi Tanahashi, where these guys are having multiple matches against each other over a period of time, but the dynamics of each match are very clearly shifting. Whereas when they first face off, Naito is the up-and-coming rookie. He's got talent, but Tanahashi, like, even though Tanahashi can't match him in talent, he's able to use his experience to like, ward him off, to keep himself safe, to win the match. But then, later in the feud, Naito, he'll start gaining experience, so he's not as green, he's not the same rookie that he was before, and eventually, not only is he already more talented than Tanahashi at that point, like, he's got better skill, is that the word I'm looking for? But also, he now has the experience to kind of counter, like, Tanahashi could use clever tricks that he's gained through experience wrestling to be able to outmaneuver Naito. But then
once Naito is able to bridge that experience gap, then Tanahashi no longer has that, and so he has to resort to dirty tricks, not necessarily breaking the rules, but he injures his leg. He finds different ways to make sure that he keeps himself on top, but he's getting more desperate. There is a very clear shift in his character in that he cannot do the same thing that he was doing before with the same results. And then you could play that with different dynamics, like you have someone go in as overconfident, but then get upset by the rookie, which I think does happen with the Tanahashi-Naito feud, is that Tanahashi underestimates him, but Naito is able to kind of surprise him. But then when they face off again, that surprise factor is gone, and so Tanahashi is able to get a win back over Naito. And there's stuff like that. That doesn't just apply to those two. You could use those similar dynamics for anything. But, like, the Sheamus title reigns don't have that. The Jack Swagger United States title reigns, they do not have that. They're nowhere near as nuanced, whereas with Dolph Ziggler's 2 world title reigns, there's a clear shift with his character, a clear shift between the nature of his opponents. Because Dolph Ziggler in this instance is not just facing new names, he is facing a completely different type of opponent. Before he was going up against veterans, now he is the veteran going up against rising stars. So it's not just like switching out names like, oh, Sheamus fought Del Rio this month, and then he fought Daniel Bryan that month, and then he fought Randy Orton this month. No, the type of opponent that he's going up against is shifting. And so that's why I would think that Dolph Ziggler's, I could also apply this to CM Punk's 2 title reigns, but it's very clearly different there in that one I have no say in, no control over, because that's way back in WWE 13, whereas in 2K15 I'm just starting to take control. So yeah, those 2 title reigns were pretty different as well, but I think Dolph Ziggler, as far as me booking a 2-time champion, I think Dolph Ziggler might be the best that I've produced. Now, this isn't including, superstars I have booked have won different titles, so they are multi-time champions, just winning different belts, different prizes. But Dolph Ziggler, going after the same title, I think Dolph Ziggler is the best. At least the best that I've booked. You could disagree with that, but that's just my personal standing on the subject.